Happy Thursday, Lean friends. Welcome to another fun, exciting episode of Lean Coaching for Lean Coaches. I'm Sam Morgan and so glad to be with you here again. These sessions just get me so pumped. I just realized and noticed in myself as I think about these sessions, both Tuesday and Thursday, when we have our live coaching sessions with lean coaches like yourself and supporting them, helping them get clarity, take action, like we did with Bruce Stanley this week. That was super fun. And then also these sessions where we talk more strategy and tactics and helping you as you're moving on your lean journey, especially for those of you who are jumping out into starting your own lean business, lean coaching, lean consulting. That's my jam. That's my story. That's where I've come from. And I love helping people along on that journey. So today we're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects, and that is the DMs. And if you're looking to build your business and you're not using the DMs to help you do that, to help draw those people that you're seeking support closer into you, you're missing out on a huge, huge space, a huge opportunity to help build relationships, support people, and grow your business. So that's what I'm so excited about today. So we're going to build on our conversation from last week where we talked about sending out those personalized connection requests and how important and critical that is to building a relationship. We all know and have all experienced those pitch slaps, right? Raise your hands if you have experienced that. And I want you to hop in on the comments and engage and share what your experience is with what we're talking about today. And, are you using DMs? Are you using that to build your business? Would love to hear from you. So please go ahead and chime in from where you're coming in from and your thoughts on using DMs. But yeah, last week, what we talked about is using the personalized connection requests to build relationship, right? We know that building business is about building relationships. We've heard that phrase, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, and that how no one does business with a business, they do business with a person, right? We do business with people. And so it starts by building that relationship with people and having that personalized connection request. So if you want to get a refresher on that, please go ahead, go back, check out the replay. Got a YouTube playlist for all of the lean coaching for lean coaches sessions. So check that out, and that'll give you kind of a springboard for our conversation today. But all flows together. It's all about being a human being and having a conversation. And that's what last week was, is when you send that personalized connection request, you're building a relationship with them. And once you send that personalized connection request, you're connecting over a personal interest, a connected interest that you all have. And then you're asking that question that really starts the conversation. And that is, great to connect with you. How are things going with your work these days? Whatever kind of work they might be up to, whether it's like plant management, operations leader, whatever it might be, you're connecting with them on that. And you're starting the conversation on something that will show that you're interested in what's going on for them and get them starting to talk about themselves, because that's our favorite topic. I remember a friend of mine way back in the day, he always used to say, everybody loves to give their own opinion, right? There's one thing that we all love to do. So if you ask somebody their opinion or what's going on for them, people are going to be more than likely freely giving that. And that's what we want to do. If you're looking to build that relationship, is get someone to start talking about themselves and start talking about what's going on for them. So that's what we did last week. We talked about that and how we get this conversation primed for, if we're seeing that this is somebody that we could support as a potential client, then we want to understand what's going on for them. And again, it starts with understanding what's going on for them, not what the great thing we have to offer to them. And I think as lean practitioners, we have to remember that it's all about bringing value to the customer, not about our great product. So that's giving you the framework for where we're coming from in our conversation today. And in our conversation today, the idea that I want us to keep in mind is flow, right? We talk about flow in our continuous improvement work, and that, we talk about one piece flow, having those use cells. I've never worked in a manufacturing environment, but knowing the importance of one piece flow, no matter what kind of work you do. And so, want you to be thinking about conversations in this way, right? That it needs to flow, it needs to move smoothly, kind of like me, right? The smooth. No, that's my kids would tell you that that is absolutely not the case. But again, please hop in on the conversation. Want to hear what your thoughts are on having a smooth conversation. So I've got 3 questions that I want to offer to you to keep that conversation going, and then there's really a bonus question then that's really the key to take your DM conversation from just like a conversation to an actual exploration call. You want to call it a sales call? I don't like that word. It feels a little, I don't know. But it's an exploration call where you can dive deeper and see if this is a good fit for you to support them in whatever work, whether they're a business owner, if it's a one-on-one client, a group kind of coaching client. This is the flow of the conversation that I want you to keep in mind. And this last question is one, the last question is one that is probably in the past would have been the hardest one, but now having a format for how to do this makes it feel a lot more comfortable. And I think you'll find too as you use that last question as well. So let's dive into it. Let's get into these questions that want you to start using and trying, and then would love to hear from you after you start using how that goes for you. Um, so the first question after, we've already, started with that conversation and asked somebody, hey, how are things going with your work today? And before you go into the next question, we need to have already gotten a conversation going, and make sure that they're like actually engaged in the conversation. They're sharing, oh yeah, well, we're in the midst of Q4, planning for Q1 for, the next year. And so things are, really exciting, or I'm super busy, or, they might even talk a lot about like the frustrations that they're facing if they're a, frontline leader and they're dealing with, the corporate BS that they're frustrated with. They might even share that off the top. I've had everything from thanks or good to somebody sharing multiple paragraphs about challenges that they're having right off the top without even me asking or prompting them. And I'm sure you've had this experience too, where some people just are like open books and others are very like a closed door, like you're not getting in. I don't care what you ask or offer. That is going to be the door is closed. Nobody's coming in. So again, we're always looking for that connection point. So we want to make sure if they haven't already engaged and you don't sense that personal connection, find a way to connect with them. If they're in a city nearby that you visited, or, for me, I always love to connect on the football soccer tip. Yesterday, I had a conversation with someone, an exploration call, and they love the same club that I did, right? Manchester United in England in the Premier League. So you never know what it is. Maybe they have they just had a new kiddo, and you have something to connect on, or something on a weather or an event. But you're connecting with them on a personal level, right? You're starting to slowly establish that personal connection and building that trust. It's all about that trust and that connection, right? And then seeing in the end if it's going to be a good fit for you guys to work together. And part of that is, are you feeling that connection, right? And I think many of us can sense that. I know it can sound kind of crazy, but even in the DMs, you can feel the energy or the connection. Again, it may sound a little woo-woo, but we need to be paying attention to these things if we're trying to see if this is going to be someone that we could support. So that first question, once we've established that personal connection, would be, just out of interest, as a plant manager or a leader or IT director, what do you feel is the biggest pain point you're currently facing in reaching your goals? Yeah, just out of interest, right? Like, again, we want to make this be as if you're walking up to somebody, you're having a conversation in the store, you're at a party. I'm super curious, as a leader, what do you feel is the biggest pain point that you're facing in getting to your goals? And just that way, right? Nothing like not like three long paragraphs. It's one sentence that flows, right? Like you're actually having a conversation with a human being. This is a phrase you would say if you met somebody on the street, and it wouldn't feel like, oh, that's clunky, or wow, get out of here with your pitch slap, right? That's not the case. This feels like it flows, like it's a conversation you're having. So, again, just out of interest, as a leader, what do you feel is the biggest pain point you're currently facing in reaching your goal? And so, we could break this down a lot of different ways, but that first part, right, just out of interest, right? It really helps lower the defenses, so to speak, so that you're not like, pow, right? It's like, I'm just curious, right? You're not like, oh, I'm digging here for a sale, right? Because really, that's not what you're trying to do. You're trying to see if this is a good fit, if it's somebody that you could help in a meaningful way and add value to where they're at on their journey. So you're trying to understand that. So just out of interest, what do you feel? And so feel is really key here. We, as continuous improvement folks, we can get into our head and we get into that thinking space. So we don't use the what do you think, it's what do you feel? Because we want to access those emotions, right? What are they really experiencing? Because we can hide behind our thoughts, we can spin around. But if we're really pushing through that and moving to, okay, what do you feel like? And then we dive into the challenge, right? The pain point. And this is something that I was on a call yesterday with some other coaches, and was talking about um, how, when I have conversations, the language. And my coach Troy, he offered this: hey, move from that. I wonder what might happen if you use from the word challenge or obstacle, which I've used as well, to pain point. And I thought, man, I like that, because when you even say those words, there's more of a visceral or emotional reaction to pain point versus challenge or obstacle. Now, we want to be aware of the person we're talking to. Of course, if they're a certain type of person, using their language is really important. And if you've already established like they're more technical and they're more, you might want to use obstacle. I know I've used that language with somebody who's in like the kata, like that's a word we use in the kata, like what obstacles are you currently facing? So be aware, kind of be open and flexible in that space. But I do love this new wording that I'm going to be trying out in conversations I have with folks. So what do you feel is the biggest pain point you're currently facing in reaching your goals? And using that in reaching your goals really helps them, ideally, thinking about themselves and the goals that they're having, that they're looking for. Like, if they're looking to start their own business, if they're looking to move up to a new position, or if they're looking to start you know um, a new initiative at work, then this is where that's going to surface in the conversations, because you've surfaced, okay, what's the pain point and what's the goal? So this is going to ideally prompt them to share about, you know, the pain point, the goal that they're seeking after. So this is that first question that, after you've already established a personal, connection with them, that you would use, just out of interest, as a leader, what do you feel is the biggest pain point you're currently facing in reaching your goals? And I'd love to hear, what you feel about these questions. We've got a couple more here that I want to move through, but what do you feel about this? Do you feel like this, feels like pitchy? Does it feel comfortable to you? Is this something that you would use? What tweaks would you make to that question? And again, we're thinking about it in terms of flow, right? We want this to be natural. Like, and we don't want to, as we can overly do this too. We don't like, oh, well, that would feel this way. I get that. But we want this to be like, okay, does this feel like a natural conversation you'd have with somebody if you were, at this grocery store, or bumped into, you know, a friend on the street, right? Hey, how's it going? You know, how are things going? What's what are kind of some of the problems you're what are you running into these days? And that's how we want it to feel. So that's the first question, right? You've established a personal connection. You're trying to uncover what's going on. And I think for me in this series of questions, I wouldn't say this is like the tipping point, but this is where you really can see if this conversation is going to go somewhere in a meaningful way for being able to explore if this is a good fit, right? Like if this is a road that you're going to want to go down further. Um, and I think for me, as look at folks that I'm working with and having conversation with. I have a whole CRM that I use, and I'm tracking conversations with folks and where I'm at with them. So like, hey, this is like a cold kind of relationship, and that's fine. We're just kind of slowly building. Sometimes it's getting warmer, and then sometimes it's really hot. Somebody that I could see, like we're having a conversation. We've had a conversation like on Zoom, or with definitely a high potential of that happening. So this is the place where that temperature changes, right? It'll be cold, it's going to stay cold, or it's getting warmer. So this is that point where you're seeing that happen. So want you to be paying attention right at this point to see like how is that feeling for you at this point? And again, would love to hear your thoughts and opinions on this. What do you use? Like, what do you do in these DM conversations? Um, so the next question, that was the first question. Next question um, is why do you feel you're facing this pain point right now? So you've asked that question. And of course, you're waiting for them to respond, right? You're not asking another question for them, but you're asking. Um, well, so once they've responded with whatever their pain point is, maybe they share a couple sentences, maybe maybe they share a whole few paragraphs, and you're going to want to respond and acknowledge what they've shared, right? Man, yeah, that sounds like a lot. I totally hear you on that. Right. And be specific and use the language that they use the words that they use, right? If they shared that they're struggling with leadership buy-in and they use those words, yeah, man, leadership buy-in is really tough with organizations these days, especially with, folks cost cutting. You are not alone on this. And we want to emphasize that, right? Because people want to know they're not alone. So once you've acknowledged what they've shared, right, you're connecting with them. Yeah. We're being human, right? Like that feels hard. That's tough. I've been there. I know what that feels like. The next question you want to ask is, you know, why do you feel you're facing this pain point right now? That is so important to dig deeper, right? Because there's going to be a lot of folks who might be having, conversations. They won't go to this level, right? They won't go to this level. They're looking for the opportunity to pow with that pitch level. That's not you, right? That's not who you are. And we're looking to go deeper, to really get to understand what's going on, to see if this is a good fit, right? A good fit for you to be able to help them. And if you don't do your due diligence in doing a process like this, then you're going to find yourself on conversations where, like, oh, well, why did I, engage and spend my time and energy in a conversation if this wasn't going to be a good fit? And I've been there myself on that so many times. I'm like, why did I do this? Why did I use my time? Not that this person isn't value, maybe doesn't need support in some way, but it's not a good fit for me to help them. Like my energy or my process or structure isn't going to be a good fit. Their personality, like our personalities, aren't going to be a fit. I've got some clients right now, and I'm like, I am so thankful and blessed because they have such great energy and their willingness and desire to move forward, to dig deep in themselves and then to take support and guidance is beautiful. And that has come from this process, asking questions early on to see that, oh man, this is a good fit. And it's not like perfect that that's happened, But I'll tell you, more often than not, when you use this process, it's going to uncover somebody and you're going to get an understanding. This is a good fit. So, again, that next question, why do you feel you're facing this challenge or pain point right now? And if you're like, well, asking why can get people defensive. Yeah, absolutely. That can happen. So maybe you could say, what is going on that you're feeling that you're facing this challenge? So if you want to reframe it with a what question, totally okay. And if you want to start with, I'm curious, why do you feel you're facing this pain point right now? And we want to say right now because we want it to be immediate, that like right now, not like 2 years ago or last week. We want them to get right now in the moment. This is what they're facing and feeling, and get into those emotions and surface, and as much as they're willing, surface that vulnerability of what's really going on. Because this is the point where they will share those, frustrations or challenges or obstacles that are coming up for them. And we want that, right? We're building that connection, and we're having them share what's going on. So we can say, oh, yeah, those are in our minds. We're not like saying it in the conversation, but our minds are like, oh, yeah, that is an area that I can really help somebody fit in and help and support. Like if somebody is sharing, like, oh, man, like I'm feeling like nobody's seeing me. I really have thought, man, I'm tired of this. Like I want to start my own thing, but I just don't know where to start. And I'm feeling really frustrated right now. There for me, like if somebody's sharing that, I'm like, oh, okay, this is a conversation I want to continue because I know it's a good fit for me. So, and if you want to again start with, you know, I'm curious to know, or you could end the phrase, would love to hear more. Those kind of phrases I found help people like lower their defenses. So those are the first two questions. After you've established a personal connection, what do you feel is the biggest pain point, and why do you feel you're facing that, or why do you feel that's going on for you right now? And then the last question here, and just as a note, right? And maybe we'll dive into this more on a different occasion because I see this a lot. Is how do I know whether to follow up or not? Right? Like at what point do I follow up? Or do I even follow up? With conversation. I think you want to take it on a case by case basis, but generally speaking, if you're getting like that warm response, you're seeing that engagement, there's that warmth to it, then I would say, like, if you're not hearing anything, you check in a week and you might say, hey, know how things get busy, or man, hope you've been doing well. Don't want to add any stress. I was just curious, you had mentioned you face this. Why do you feel you're facing it? Right. So you can always make it like low key. It doesn't need to be like high pressure, like no rush, like you're coming back like 6 hours later. I love that 1 week. Like, how's the week been? How was the weekend? Hope my last message didn't add any stress. Would love to know, why you feel you're facing this challenge. So that's a great kind of way to move through that like awkward, week, or you're feeling this radio silence from a person, especially if you're feeling that warmth coming on. So again, got those questions and maybe a little extra bonus tip for how to navigate that. And maybe we'll talk about that more down the road because I've got lots of stories about those spaces. So the next question, we'll have a bonus one, but the next question is, what have you like once they've replied, like they've shared their feelings. So you've asked them to surface their feelings. They're sharing, what their frustrations, challenges, excitements are about their experience. So again, you're gauging it based on the warmth and how you're feeling, but you're going to ask, so what have you tried to overcome these pain points, these challenges that you're experiencing? What sorts of things have you tried to overcome that? And people I find will share in this space as well, because if they're frustrated, they've likely tried something, right? Well, I've tried applying, or I've tried sending messages to folks. I've tried starting up this the lean culture and it's just not working. I've done some Kaizen events, or I've done this, that, or the other, and it hasn't worked for me. So people are going to share what they've tried. And that's great, because especially if you move forward in conversation, you actually have a call with them, you want to know what they've tried. Oh, I remember. Yeah, you've tried X, Y, and Z. You've been spending 3 years or 3 weeks on this, and you've had multiple conversations with these leaders. So it's at this point, right? If you've come to through this conversation, right, where you've asked them to share what they feel their biggest, pain point and challenges, why they feel they're experiencing that, and then what they've tried to overcome that. This is the point, right, where you're ready to, if they're warm to you and you're feeling that, and you're feeling that energy, you're feeling connected to them, this is the point where you transition it to an offer of a call. And this is that bonus question that I had primed at the beginning. And if I like the way this question is framed, and all of this I've learned, and have gleaned and taken and modified for myself from my LinkedIn coach, Darren Gibb. Shout out to him, because all of this has come from conversations and courses and stuff that I've learned from him, and have taken and adapted it, to kind of this framework and the lean thought. But I love this last thing, and I want you to take this away. And especially, I think it can help you with, as you build confidence. Like, oh, this whole sales thing feels kind of, but hopefully these questions can help you feel like, oh, okay, it doesn't have to feel like schmarmy or pitchy. It feels like I'm a human having a conversation, wanting to support somebody else in their journey, or help another organization or company or team. So this is the question, right? Once you've heard from them, they've shared what they've tried, and you're like, man, I get it. You've tried this and this. I've been there myself. I totally get it. And this is, with the folks that I'm seeking to support, it's that understanding, that acknowledgement. I've been there before. Totally get your frustration. I've applied, right? Like, I got shut down for multiple jobs before. I've been there before. I know what the frustration is like and the fear is like. And this is the key. And I know I can help. Would you be open to a conversation where we would explore what it would look like to work together? Period. Or question mark. That's it, right? You acknowledge their frustration. You've been there before. And I know I can help. And that was the toughest question for me, or statement to make. Because at a certain point, I was like, can I? Can I? Can I really? And now, over time, I've grown in that confidence. And I know, as somebody who's a practitioner, you can help people. So that's the key. And I know I can help. Would you be open to a conversation where we would explore what it would look like to work together? Now, we'll dive more into some of these as you ask that question, and then moving into a actual sales conversation and a call. And we'll talk about that in the next week or two, about how to do that. But again, want you to try these out. How do these feel for you? How do these questions? Would love to hear in the comments. Like, how do these feel for you? What do you think? In kata terms, what do you expect from doing this step, right? We talk about in lean going with the flow, and using these questions. I want to encourage you, try these out, especially if you're struggling, right, with bringing in people, warm leads, we call them. Again, we talk about being afraid of cold calls. This isn't a cold call. This is a conversation with a human being, right? So I think you'll find, as you use this framework, that you'll have more of those people coming into you. So again, that framework, I'll put a post-it note in the notes so you can kind of see that framework, those questions. But let me know, drop a comment in there. What do you think? We'll be back on next Tuesday with Josh Lubker. I want to make sure I pronounce that correctly, for another fun lean coaching for lean coaches session. So next Tuesday, same time, be here. And again, if you need help and support in this journey, as you're looking to move forward, launching your own thing or moving forward in your own lean journey, that's what I do. I love helping support people with mindset and tactics and strategies, just like the ones we talked about today. Shoot me a DM if that's you. Otherwise, thanks so much. Have a fantastic Thursday and look forward to being with you again next Tuesday on another episode of Lean Coaching for Lean Coaches. Take good care, friends.